It's Chris and William Emporig from wiwibloggs. We've just completed the first full day of rehearsals. 8 acts performed, 8 meet and greets were scheduled, 8 interviews took place. You guys, who is the standout star of the first day of rehearsals?
So for me, it has to be Armenia. Going into it, I think there were a lot of nerves about, could Genealogy pull it off live? Oh my god, they pulled it off live. Yeah, they're really good. Really, interesting people as well. Really nice people. I'm really feeling it. I definitely think top 10 right now for Genealogy after that.
Yeah, this is so different. We've talked about this a lot, that we think it's very like musical theater, and there's nothing else like it in the competition. And the fear with musical theater is that you don't blend, it doesn't work, it's a hot mess. But they managed to make it work, like very distinct voices, different backgrounds. I was loving it. Visually, one of you said it was Lord of the Rings. You're totally right. This is ancient Armenian couture realness. Everything works. I think the LED floor, the spiraling, the circling, very Tinkara, as you said. It looks expensive.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but they were my standout of the day as well. Just, they were the only ones that used every aspect that was on offer. They used the floor to great effect, the LED screens, the lighting, the wind machines. They had everything. Their costumes even, I was worried when there was those press shots of them. Do you know, they all look, they've the resting bitch faces on when they're wearing these big traditional things. But they actually came out, it's traditional with Armenian, but it's not what the fuck kind of, it's classy.
It's amazing. I'm gonna say it again, this is expensive. They've thought through every detail from the floor to the costume to the vocals to the arrangement. Armenia is a threat. People need to watch out. Now, let's talk about other positives from today. For me, I'm going to say, flipping through my list, Estonia. You know what? They haven't disappointed. I wanted them to do something old world, something respectful of that sound that got them here, and they've done that. The black and white monochrome, the shadows. We complained in our review earlier that, it was a hot mess technically. They didn't know what was going on, but we spoke to them just now in the interview room, and they said they were testing out different scenarios, so they know what's going on. They're not nervous, and I don't think we should be either.
I think, here's the thing, is going into this, I don't think we were that confident in Genealogy, so I wonder if that's why we think, they were the obvious big winners of the day. Realistically, Estonia probably were the best of the day, just because they were so on point. And I definitely think, we have talked about them as potential winners, and again, I do think that is the case. I really hope that Stig doesn't sort of just lose interest, because that's what I'm really worried about. But I do think that it is just part of the staging.
But that's part of the act. He's supposed to be disinterested. He's not with Alina. It's goodbye to yesterday, goodbye to their past. So it wouldn't work if he was lovey-dovey or mournful. They're not meant to be sad. If you look at the music video, they've the knives out. There's blood. They're not getting back together, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be happy. It should be cold as ice, the chemistry.
Now, y'all, at Esti Lau, we were there, and they had this furniture on stage. It was from IKEA, because I have some of that in my bedroom, and I looked at the tag. But this was expensive and glossy. It looked like a Hollywood movie from the 50s or 60s.
Those shadows.
It's perfect.
That shadow bit is incredible. And the fact that it just moves as she's walking further towards them, that is technically really hard to do as well, you can imagine. So, and
this isn't the common linnets. People were worried it was copying, but this has a much more, I don't know, Art Deco, is that the word? There's something very artsy about this.
Cinematic.
Cinematic, in a way that the common linnets wasn't. That was great, but that was more Nashville glam. This is more 1960s New York Hollywood glam, yes. Well, stand out for you.
Mine was Genealogy as well, but then Belgium was kind of hit and miss. I thought it was standout in that they didn't completely ruin it with weird dancers. Some of the choreography was a bit off, but I think Belgium was an issue of nerves. So I'm confident that by the time the second rehearsal comes around, we could see something much, much better and maybe blow us away, because it was avant-garde, staging was different, and his vocals were on point, because people were worried maybe that he wouldn't connect, that his eyes would be shut. So there was a few issues, but I'm putting that to nerves, because he is only 19 after all.
My issue, and looking back on the day, I can only remember a bright white screen. It's like that moment in Undo with Sanna Nielsen when everything goes white, but it stays like that.
It's just permanent.
Yeah.
It is just permanent.
So I can't even remember. I know that he was wearing black and there was some dodgy dancing.
The writhing on the floor, he just fell over. I missed, the bit where he sort of got on the floor. I just was like, oh my god, is he in pain? Oh no, what's happening?
I think this is down to the producers, not the Belgian producers, but the Austrian ones. They need to tone down the brightness, because I cannot see. Maybe it looks different on a TV screen. In any event, another standout for me would be...
I'd have one. Well, it's not a standout, but in terms of the performances today, Greece were technically competent. There wasn't anything exciting about it, and we did say it's a bit boring, like it's a bit safe, there's nothing that interesting about the staging, but where other people sort of let themselves down today, I think Greece did themselves justice. And obviously if Maria Elena has been ill, as has been talked about, you know, she's going to be even better in a couple of days, and by the time of the semi-finals she could really be a threat.
Can I just tell you, I learned she has 2 or 3 kids. That body is banging. I don't know how she did it. I don't know if she had the babies herself or if someone else had them, but she looks amazing.
She was singing to her babies. She was singing a lullaby to everyone. It was just so dull. Like, it was stereotypical Eurovision ballad. Nothing different, nothing innovative, nothing daring. She just stood there, looked nice, smiled for the camera, and that was it.
Well, turning the page, another standout to me was PKN, and I've really, I've always liked it, like, on a moral, like, I don't know, for its message, but now I like it as an act. It was entertaining, the fast cutting, the lights. It feels very rock, very punk, very different to, Maria Elena, standing there in blue crooning, and that originality, that rawness, it stands out to me at the end of the day. Like, it's one of the few acts I can actually remember everything, and that maybe because they don't change things up that much on stage, but I really like it.
Yeah, I don't. When they were on, I felt as if somebody was banging at my head with a hammer. It was just noise. The staging hasn't changed since UMK. They've put in kind of big columns on the screens, but the only good thing is it's 1 minute 30 or 90 seconds, so it's over quick.
I have grown to appreciate it for what it is, and that's probably a good thing, realistically. I'm never going to really like it at the end of the day because it's not the type of music that I enjoy, and I just don't get them as performers, but I understand where they come from, and realistically speaking, if it does qualify, I still don't want it to because I think it'll take it away from a more deserving song, but for me today, that inch towards being a deserving song, it became more legitimate.
What was your disaster of the day, of the 8 acts, who blew it up in a bad way?
Why? Oh, why was she wearing that dress? I mean, there was so little that worked for Trencher. The best thing was her vocals, which were incredible, like really on point. And that's probably a good thing, because obviously if that was an issue, then that's something that they can't really work on. But I have a feeling she's talking about, oh, I love the dress. The dress does not work, my dear. And I mean, that the camera shot is one long panning thing, which they did for the Common Linnets. Doesn't work for a song like Walk Along. It just wasn't right.
I've got to say, even with the dress, if I can just block the dress out of my mind, I really liked the staging. I liked the transition from black to green to red, the shadow of lovers. That's great. But the cleavage, I just keep thinking of the breasts. Yeah. And I don't want to. It's really, like, off-putting. And, you interviewed her. What was she saying? How did she defend it?
She basically said the dress talks for itself, speaks for itself. She didn't have any comments to add to it. She likes the dress. I don't think the dress is going to change. No. That's there. I think we have to accept that.
She picked it herself apparently as well, which means that, that girl is happy with it. And
can we declare a state of she-emergency? Someone needs to help her out. Avro 2ROS, you need to get up in her closet, sew it up.
And she really needs to move, I think. They can change that, because she stood there for the whole thing. Her backing dancers kind of walked around a small bit, but she stood there. She's like she's mourning at a funeral, except she's wearing very inappropriate clothes. And it's Walk Along, and she doesn't even lift her foot once. Yeah.
And it's all black, like she's dressed in black, backing dancers in white, and then red lighting, green lighting, blue lighting. It just felt like they got a jumble sale of Eurovision gimmicks and threw them at it.
The lighting is really good though.
It's good, but I think it just doesn't work.
I think this is salvageable. They just need to rip that dress off, but cover everything up when they do. So that's your disaster of the day. Porg, what's your disaster of the day?
I think Macedonia, unfortunately. That he sang competently. It sounded the same as every other time he sang it, but the staging. Like, he had these urban retro dances that looked like they were backing dancers for Backstreet Boys or NSYNC back in the 90s. Then there was these ancient pillars. Then there was these little leaves that looked almost cartoonish, floating upwards, and the story didn't gel, and it didn't match. Like, he had R&B dancers, but he's not doing an R&B number, and I don't know, and it's not retro, so I don't know why he was bringing in the old elements. It's just weird.
So we talked to his assistant head of delegation earlier, just before the interviews, and he was saying that they changed everything up last night. So that's why in the press center we couldn't see the proper angles, because ORF wasn't ready to show them because they've had to readjust everything. So that gives me hope that this will look better. But I must say my biggest problem is the ancient Greek Macedonian, whatever they are, columns with the R&B modern dancing. It doesn't fit.
And his outfit. He's wearing this kind of plasticky cravat and a white kind of beige trench coat. And yes, it looks weird, like it's like plastic,
It looked
like a bin bag.
rubbish bag. But bin bag, exactly. It looked like a weird bin bag that they just sort of, like Project Runway.
Gone wrong.
Eurovision edition. We need new people for Tranger Oosterhuis, and we also need it for Daniel Kaczmarkowski, please.
Absolutely. Well, there is one act we have not named from today, and I think this is very telling. It speaks to the running order. It's Moldova's Edward Romanuta.
God.
At the time, I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's quite fun. It's high energy. He sounded great. It looked great. It was very TV. A great opener for the Simi. But we haven't mentioned it yet, so that suggests it hasn't made an impression either way.
It wasn't forgettable at the time, but now all I can think of is that woman's like leather wedgie, and that isn't something that you're going to want as like a lasting thought. And relatively speaking, if Belgium get it on point, genealogy completely overshadowed him as well. If Loic gets it on point as well, he's dead in the water.
Like, he made Donaton and Cleo look classy. Because at least they kind of supposedly had a message. He just had a bunch of strippers going around in Kylie Minogue's left hand-me-downs. And it didn't work. He ripped off his shirt. We wanted to see Loic do that, not him.
You know what? There is a message, and it came from those dancers, from Leather Wedgie, and from Edward. I need your love. It's a simple message all y'all can get down on.